Okay, I think we are live now.
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right, guys. Hello, everyone. And those of you watching us on YouTube and Facebook live stream, we are Victor and Luca. Both of us are instructors at the Guitar Zoom Academy. And basically what we do over here is kind of like a showcase of what we do at the Academy every day, all day. And if you're interested in learning some more about the Academy and maybe becoming our student, you can click on this link that I'm gonna leave in the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat section, as well as here in Zoom. And you can just click on that link a bit later after I share it with you. Here it is. Here it is on Facebook as well. And here it is in Zoom. Okay, so
Perfect.
hello. Okay, guys, today's subject are seventh chords in the cage system. Okay, now to get there, basically, first we're gonna go over all of the different five different shapes of the major and minor chords in the cage system. Okay, and then we're gonna expand and add the seventh interval inside these chord shapes. Okay, I don't know if you can all hear my guitar. I hope you can.
Yep. Thumbs up. Anybody's not hearing, let us know. Coming through?
Okay.
Perfect.
Just turn on my my DAW so that I'll be able to hear it as well.
Hey, Michael. Nice to have you here. Thanks for joining.
Okay. There it is. All right, guys. So with all of the different five shapes in the cage system for the major chords. Okay, you probably already know this, most of you, but basically if you take any open chord shape and refret the chord to use the rest of your fingers except for the index finger, and then use the index finger for barring, you can just move any chord all over the fretboard to create the other chords. Okay, chromatically move it up. Okay, now Victor has an echo. Okay, let's see what's wrong here. Give me a second. What about now?
It sounds good to me. I can hear you okay.
Okay, Michael,
You're
is
good.
it okay?
Was that better, Mike?
Now it's really soft. Like it's like you're behind a screen.
Really? What
Like
about
my
now?
voice? Voice or Victor's?
That's weird. It is actually
Maybe someone else
set
can
up
chime in. It's not, maybe it's just me.
same as.
Yeah, I can hear you very well, Victor.
Okay.
Mikey likes it.
Okay.
Thanks, Mikey.
All right. Okay, so let's go on. Basically, guys, what is the cage system? Some of you already know this, but let's repeat. Okay, the cage system basically means if you take the five letters of the five open chords that we know. By open chords, I mean chords that have open strings inside of them. Okay, the basic major and minor chords, especially major, and I'm gonna tell you why later. Okay, C, A, G, E, and D. Or in other words, actually in other letters, gauged, okay? If we spell out the letters of the chords. So C, A, G, E, D. That's why it's called the cage system, okay? Now, the cage system basically tells us that if you take any of these chords,
Victor, I'm
refret it
sorry.
with the... Yeah?
Do you have the original sound on? Because the guitar is breaking up.
It turned off. I had it before, and then, I don't know, I opened the audio settings, and how is it now?
Yeah. Great. Now that's good.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So, and basically that's it. What the cage system is telling us that we can actually refret any chord with the rest of our fingers except for the index finger, and then use the index finger as a capo basically to put it on the fretboard like this and to raise the chord up for half step, for whole step, whatever, whatever. Okay? So that means that basically this was our C major chord. This next chord will be a C sharp major, okay? But the only thing left for us to do is also to put a capo here, okay? And that means that we are actually moving the nut of the guitar together with the chord, okay? But to do so, we're just gonna refret it and we're gonna use the index finger for the capo kind of a thing, okay? So that way the C major will become a C sharp major, D major, D sharp or E flat major, E major, F major, etc., etc., etc. Okay? If we do this with the rest of the chords, we can also play an A-shaped chord. If this is an A major, again, refret it. And then from this A major, we can create a B flat major, B major, C sharp, D, etc., etc. Okay? With the rest of them as well. G, we're just gonna reshape the G chord so that we have one vacant finger, okay? And now, again, same method. G sharp major, A major, B flat major, G major, etc., etc. The next one, E. Again, refret it with the rest of the fingers, use the index as a capo. E major becomes F major, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, B sharp, E major again, one octave higher on the 12th fret, okay? And the last one, the D major, same method, refret it, use the index as a bar, or in this case only for the D string, okay? And then we go up, and it becomes a D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, etc., etc. Okay? Do you have any questions so far?
Okay, so just one little thing I want to add. Basically, so when we are playing these shapes, okay, and this is the reason why they are called open chords, is because we have open strings. Okay, so the C major is going to have that open G, for example. Okay, so what happens? Because of how the guitar works, okay, we can take these shapes and move them across the fretboard, and all of the notes are going to move in parallel, basically. Okay, so what happens when we move, like for example, this C chord to a C sharp, well, we still have that open E as G here. So we need to compensate, okay, for that, for all of the open strings, and that is the reason why we finger the chord and add that bar, basically. Okay? So that's the reason why we refinger the chord, so that we can compensate for those open strings. Same thing happens with the E. Okay? If I just move all of this, I mean, it sounds great, but I still have, you know, those open strings that I need to compensate for. And that's why we use the bar, so that we can actually move this chord all across the fretboard. So one thing that I see a lot of people getting confused about the cage chording system is, okay, so this is a C sharp in the C position. So what's the deal here? Basically, okay, why do I call it or this is a D chord in the C shape. So basically, the name of the chord is given by the root, the lowest note. That's why this is a C chord. Well, at least 90% of the times. Okay, so this is a C chord in the C shape. If I play this over here on the 5th fret, okay, now this is no longer a C chord because I moved all the notes. This is now a D chord, but I'm still using the C shape. So that's kind of like, just to clarify a bit, because I see a lot of confusion. Okay? So basically, yeah, that's just the thing that I wanted to add it. When we are adding the bar, we are compensating for those open strings so that we can have all of the notes move up in parallel. Okay? And the name of the chord is going to be given by its lowest note. So this is going to be an E chord because my lowest note is an E, but it's in the C shape. That's one thing. The other important thing about the cage system is that once you look at it, okay, all of these chords are going to be connected to each other by one note. And that's also something important, to give this like value, right? So if I start on C, it's the C chord, okay? The next is going to be, well, it's C-A-G-E-D, right? Caged. The next one is going to be the A shape. But it's still a C chord. So here's the connection between the C shape and the A shape, okay? Then the next one is going to be the G shape. And these 3 notes are going to be that connection. So here's the C chord, and I hate this shape, by the way. I have to practice it. That's what it is. So this is a C chord in the G shape. So here's the connection, right? Connection, connection. Here's my connection. And then C-A-G-E. Here's the connection with the G shape. And then finally D. So this note right here is going to be our connection. And finally, we go back to the C. And as you can see, these top 3 notes are exactly that same shape. And here we have it all connected together. So yeah, just clarifying a little bit what this whole thing is about. Go ahead, Victor.
Yes, that's it. Thanks, Luca. Now, guys, our task today, by the way, there is a question in the YouTube chat section. Gray Station 402 is asking, is music theory just a myth? No, it isn't.
No.
Music theory has a lot to do with the physics of sound and of how sound travels in the physical space and what it does to the air molecules and how notes interact with each other, okay? And why certain things sound consonant and other things sound more dissonant to us, okay? This is a very broad subject, and we're gonna talk about it some other time when that will be the subject of the particular lesson. But to answer your question simply, no, it's not a myth. Okay.
Right.
Now,
and by the way,
on.
this is something super quick, Victor, that we talked about a little bit 2 weeks ago in the Music
Yes.
Theory 101. Okay. So all of those sessions are recorded, and you can find them in the Guitar Zoom YouTube channel. So
Yes.
if you just scroll a bit, and by the way, while Victor keeps teaching us, I'm gonna find that session. I can't post it on YouTube, but yeah, you can find it on the YouTube channel, Guitar Zoom channel. That previous session that we had a couple of weeks ago that talks a little bit about this topic, music theory and the physics of sound. So yeah.
Yes. Okay, moving on now. Back to our chord shapes. Okay? So basically now we went through all of the shapes in the cage system. we didn't really mention the minor chords, and now we're gonna play them as well. But the thing is that we're gonna have less shapes for the minor chords, okay? Because in the cage system, as you can see, we do have an A major and an A minor with in the open chords. We also have E major and E minor, and we have a D major and D minor. But we do not have a C minor, we only have a C major. And the reason for this is that to make this chord a minor, I'm gonna need an E flat note, okay? And I cannot really do that because even if I flatten this E note somehow down here, I still have my open E string and there is no chance for me to make that one lower, okay? So that's why a shape for a C minor simply does not exist over here, okay? And also the G major chord, because again, if I refret the chord like this and I play any other G-shaped chord, this here is the note that is making the chord major, okay? So there is no way for me to lower this note that is underneath my index finger. So out of the minor shapes in the cage system, we're only gonna have an E-shaped chord, A-shaped and D-shaped, okay? Now, the E-shaped minor chord will look like this, of course, same method. We're gonna refret the chord and use the index finger as a bar, and now if we move it up, this is what it will look like, okay? F minor, F sharp minor, G minor, and as you can see, it's pretty similar to the major E-shaped. All we need to do is remove that middle finger from the G string, okay? And then chromatically up, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C, etc., etc., okay? Next one, the A minor shape. This is what an A minor chord looks like. So again, if we refret it and use the index finger as a bar, A minor, A sharp or B flat minor, B minor, C minor, C sharp or D flat, then D minor, etc., etc. And then the last one is the D minor shape, which we're gonna refret like this, and we're gonna use the index finger. In this case, we're not really barring with the index finger. We're just using the index finger to fret the sort of bass note of the chord, which is on the D string itself, and there is nothing else we need to fret here, no actual bar, okay? We only need the D string. So if this was a D minor, then this would be a D sharp minor, E minor, F minor, F sharp, G, etc., etc., okay? So now you have all of the 5 shapes in the cage system for the major chords and 3 more shapes for the minor chords, okay? What we're gonna do next is first we're gonna talk about what 7th chords are, theoretically, so to say, okay? How do we build chords? A chord is a combination of at least 3 or more notes, okay? And we build chords by stacking intervals of thirds on top of each other, okay? So if we take any scale note, let's say we're gonna take the root note, the first note of the C major scale, and that would be the C note. And then if this is the C note, we're gonna jump 1/3 above it, which is the E note, okay? C, D, E. So C, E, and then 1 more third above is gonna be our G note, okay? So that means that now we have a chord that's called a triad, and it has the notes root, third, and fifth, which is the third above the third, okay? So we are stacking thirds on top of each other as intervals, okay? If we take them scale-wise, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, okay? So 1, 3, and 5. So C, E, G is actually just a C major triad, okay? And you see, if I fret it like this, it actually looks like the C major chord itself, okay? Now, to build a 4-note chord, we're just gonna have to continue with the same method, and that means that now we're gonna have the notes number 1, number 3, number 5, plus number 7 above that 5, okay? So in terms of notes, we're gonna have C, E, G, and B above that G, okay? Or, in other words, as intervals, root, third, fifth, and 7th, because B is the 7th note in the C scale, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? So that means that if we add this B note somewhere inside the C major chord, then that C major chord is gonna become a C major 7. Okay? This is the first way of doing that. Just by releasing the B string. So instead of playing this C note with the index finger, I'm just gonna play an empty B string and that's my B note, okay? So that means that this shape is actually a C major 7, okay? Now we're gonna play just the C major 7 chord in all of its different shapes, okay? Moving on to the A shape, okay? Our next connection. This was an A-shaped C major chord. How do I add that B note inside this chord? The B note is gonna be here in the scale, as you can see. Now I need to add this note inside this chord. And to do so, I'm gonna refret it a little bit. Instead of playing like this or like this, I'm just gonna use 2 different fingers for these 2 notes, and then in between them on the G string, on the 4th fret, I'm gonna add my B note here. And this is what it sounds like. C major 7, okay? Okay, next shape. Our next shape is gonna be the G shape. This was the G shape. Now, we usually don't use this shape as is, as a whole. We either use the top half like this, or actually this is the bottom half in terms of register in the scale, and this is the top half, the higher notes of the chord, okay? So instead of playing the whole G-shaped chord like this, we can either play this or this, okay? Now we're gonna stick with this shape, okay? This part of the G-shaped chord. This up here is a C note, and we are still working with the C major chord, okay? We needed a B note to actually play a C major 7, right? Because B was the 7th of the C major scale. So now I'm just gonna lower this note here and put it on the 7th fret because that is my B note. And that means that if I actually play this kind of a shape, which has this part of the C major chord here and the added B note on top, this is actually a G-shaped, so to say, C major 7, okay? Now, can you see the connection? Previously we had this B note in the A-shaped chord. This is a B note. If I take this note and put it 1 octave higher, this is my next B note, and then I can actually play this part of the chord like this with a small bar. Now, my lowest note is not the root note here because I need a C note as a root, right? So I'm not gonna struggle with that because if I decide to use this shape, I will probably use it if I play with a bass player or another guitar player. If I'm just strumming by myself, I wouldn't really use this shape for a C major 7. I would much rather use this one or this one, okay? But if you have a bass player who's gonna play that C note, then on top of that C note you can actually place this voicing, and together you will create a C major 7 chord, okay? Now, another interesting thing is the connection here as well, because with the A-shaped C, back to the A shape now, this is what it looks like, and previously we added this B note to make it a C major 7. But what we can also do is we can keep this A-shaped C and just spread and stretch with the pinky here to reach this B note on top. And now I also have my bass note, the C note here, the chord itself, the triad, and that B note on top of it, okay? So that means that this shape is actually very much connected with that so-called G-shaped, okay? Do you have any questions so far, guys? Also, Luca, Do you
Yeah.
want
So, by the way, just super quick, you know, a very easy way to find these chords from something that you already know is basically, okay, so right now we're talking about a major seventh chord. So, as Victor mentioned, a major seventh chord is nothing more than a triad with an added major seventh interval. So, all you need to remember is that the major seventh interval is always going to be half a step below the root of the chord, which means one fret behind. So if you know, right, your chords and like the notes within them, which is something that I strongly suggest to do. So I know that this is the root of the chord, this is the third, this is the fifth, and here's again the root. Okay, so again, if I know that my major seventh is half a step below the root, well, I don't want to mess with this note because it's the one that's giving me the sound or the name of the chord, it's the root. But I can definitely, since I have two roots, take this one away and add that major seventh half a step below. So again, from the major, here's the major seventh, okay? And again, I can move that exactly the same way. So this is a D chord, D major, in the C shape, and here's my D major seventh. So again, the root, I'm going to lower it half a step, and here's my major seventh, okay? The same thing happens with this shape right here. Okay, now I've got root, the fifth, I've got an extra root I can mess with, and then I've got the third of the chord. So again, from this guy right here, I choose my major seventh, half a step below the root, and here is where it comes from. Major, major seventh. Same thing here. Here's my root, here's my major seventh. So just knowing a little bit about how the chord is built, is going to help tremendously, because you really don't have to memorize all this stuff if you know where it comes from, basically.
Yep. Michael, you are asking, can you show us? I don't know what were you referring to?
Oh, Luca took care of it when he was talking about how you can add the seventh
Okay.
when you move the, yeah.
All right, great.
Cool.
Okay. So now, where did we stop? The G shape. Now we have
We
the
are on the
E
G shape.
shape.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the next one will be the E shape, and then the last one will be the D shape. So, with the E shape, guys, here we go. We have two different options here. One of them is to, again, as Luca said, if this is your C note and this is your octave, the next root, the next C note, you can easily make this note a half step lower, put it here, and then by refretting the chord, you can play it like this. Okay? Even though this is not a very, first of all, it's not a very comfortable shape, and second of all, it doesn't really sound as nice, okay? So that's why this shape is mostly played like this, actually. The bass note here, and then I have the seventh, the third above, and the fifth above. Without this, I'm just skipping the fifth string here. And this is the sort of the jazz way of playing a C major chord, okay? I have the bass note here, I'm skipping the A string, and then I'm playing this little triad here with the seventh of C, the third of C, and the fifth of C. Okay? But another way of playing this would be if I just take my, watch this, if I only keep the higher part without this bottom power chord, if I keep the higher part of the chord, this is what it looks like, right? Now I'm gonna take this C note, the second octave, and I'm gonna put it one fret lower, okay, to reach that B note. And if I refret it like this, you see it looks like stairs. Okay, so I have 10, 9, 8, 7, or C, E, G, B. In other words, root, third, fifth, seventh. Okay, this is the best visual representation of the chord, in my opinion. You see how I'm stacking thirds on top of each other? You can easily see in this shape. So C, 1/3 above it, one more third above it, and one more third above that last one. So 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, and here is the chord. Okay, so that means that basically when playing the E shape, this actually comes from the E-shaped chord, believe it or not, even though it looks nothing like an E-shaped bar chord, but that's where it comes from. Okay, that's it. And then the last one is gonna be the D-shaped C major 7. So the C major 7, the C major with the D shape itself looks like this, okay? Basically, this is the shape of a D major chord. We are just putting it here above this C note, okay? All right? So, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna refret it like this. So I have the root note here and my little D-shaped chord here. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, because this is the C note, and this is my next C note, the pinky. I'm gonna take this C note now and make that a B note. But instead of playing it like this, I'm just gonna make a small bar up here, okay? So in terms of frets, I have 10, this is the C note, and then over here I have 12, 12, 12. And this is the D-shaped C major 7, okay? And again, this is not something that you would use if you're strumming an acoustic guitar by yourself. You wouldn't really use this shape. You're gonna need something more powerful, such as down here. But if you have a bass player with you or another guitar player who's gonna play in the lower register, you can easily use this shape. Okay? And then the next one is gonna be the first one, okay? Because this was our C major and this is our C major 7. So if I refret that like this and I just put it one octave higher, that's just my C-shaped C major 7, okay? And that means that by using this shape I can also make a B major 7, B flat, A major 7, etc, etc. And again, do you see how it connects with the previous shape? In the D-shaped C major 7 we had this little block here, this little, what's it called, a bar. And then here in this shape we're keeping that same thing, okay? We're just moving some other notes here. This is our root note now, and this is the third, and then above we have the rest of the chord. Okay?
Yeah,
Any
and they're
questions
all
so far?
connected. Yeah, they're all connected together. So
Yes.
a good way to practice this is, well, you can start on C, right? And you can make, well, a little chord progression that is not going to move to any other chord, but it's just going to be like, you know, C shape, next shape, next shape, next shape, next shape. Or you can just play them, and one more, obviously. Okay? And you can just, you know, practice them. And there you have it, basically. All are major 7th chord shapes of the cage system.
Yep.
Any other any questions at all? Is this making sense so far? Thumbs up? Cool.
Also, the rest of you guys watching us on the live stream on YouTube and Facebook, if you have any questions, feel free to. Okay? Moving on. Now, we went through all of the shapes of the C major 7 chord. Now let's talk about which other types of 7 chords we have. Okay? First of all, let's go back for a while to the triads. The triads were the chords that only have root, third, and fifth. 3-note chords. That's the smallest chord that you can have. The least amount of notes that you need for a chord are 3 notes. And these 3 notes are root, third, and fifth. The difference between a major and a minor chord is in the third, okay? If we have a root note, a major third, and a fifth, by the way, the major third is a note that sits 2 whole steps above the root note, okay? So if we have this C note with this E note, 2 whole steps, that's a major third. It looks like this, C, E. If we have a note that sits 1.5 steps above the root, that's a minor third, okay? So, if we have a chord that has root, major third, and fifth, that's a major triad, okay? If we have a chord with a root, minor third, and a fifth, that's a minor triad, all right? There are also different types of, if you have a minor third and a flat 5, that will be called a diminished triad. And if you have a major third and an augmented 5, that's called an augmented triad. But we're going to talk about these types of chords some other time, okay? Now, if we expand the triad, the major or minor triad, with the 7th note inside of it, that means that we can have 4 different things. A major triad with a major 7, a major triad with a flat minor or flat 7, then a minor triad with a minor 7, and a not so common minor triad with a major 7, okay? And now what we did so far is we played all of the different shapes and inversions of the major 7 chord, which means major triad with a major 7 inside of it. Now let's see the major triad with a flat 7 inside of it, also known as a dominant chord, okay? This is going to be easy since we already know all of the shapes of the major 7, okay? So that means that now the next thing that we have to do is the 7th that we already found for this C chord, for instance, we need to make that even one more half step lower to reach that flat 7. Because this was the octave of C, this here is the sharp 7, and this here is the flat 7, okay? So now that means that if we add this B flat note, or yes, in the C chord this B flat note, but no matter where we are, just this note that is as an interval, it's a, you see, the guitar is a very visual instrument, okay? A perfect fifth will always look like this. An octave will look like this. A fourth looks like this. A sharp 7 looks like this. A flat 7 looks like this, okay? So that means that if we add this note somewhere in the major chord, we're gonna play a major 7 chord, okay? Sorry, a dominant 7 chord, which means a major chord with a flat 7. So, back to our C major chord, we needed to add this note right here, the B flat. So, we're just gonna use the pinky and we're gonna add that note inside the chord. Can you hear the difference? This is a major 7. It's much more stable and static as a chord. But if you play a dominant 7, it is quite more dissonant, and it's known as the dominant chord because that's usually the 5th chord in the key, and it needs to go back to the root chord. It wants to resolve. You see how it resolves nicely back to this F chord in this case, for instance. Okay? That's because of the dissonance created between these 2 notes of the chord. Okay? Alright, so now what we can do with this shape is we can easily move it up the fretboard as long as we are not playing the empty strings, the empty 6th string and the empty 1st string, okay? So we're just gonna take what we are already fretting without any kind of a bar. And there we have all of the different dominant chords with a C shape. So C dominant 7, C sharp dominant 7, D dominant 7, etc., 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 etc. this shape is very, very widely used in, especially in blues. Okay. Okay. Anything to add, Luca?
Well, just basically the interesting thing here is that, you know, we started out with a major chord. We added that that major seventh. Okay. Now, you know, we run out of guitar. Basically, we can't go any lower than this. So we have to find another way to play that flat seventh. And the easiest way to do that is adding that note right here, which again, it's very easy to see, you know, from, again, this major shape, major seventh, and then the dominant seventh. So again, you know, the big takeaway here is that you really don't have to memorize a million chord shapes. You know, if you kind of know a little bit more about what the chord looks like, and above all, what are the intervals inside that chord, you know? So from one shape, we can add, here's my major seventh, and here's my dominant seventh, okay? So I think that's a big takeaway, actually, you know, starting from something that you already know and just move one or two things around. That's going to make your life easier, 100%.
Yes. Okay, so our next shape in the cage system is the A shape. Now back to our C major chord with an A shape, okay? Michael, your question, or the sixth note to have a dominant seven. No, Michael, not the sixth note. You see, in the C major scale itself, we cannot really make a dominant chord out of the C chord. We can make a dominant chord out of the G chord in the C major scale. But what we are looking for is the flat 7 as an interval, okay? Because over here in normal C major scale, the diatonic C major scale, we have a sharp 7. We need this note, the flat 7, to create a dominant chord. I'm going to repeat that. In the C major scale, we can create a dominant chord out of the 5th chord, okay? Because we will need this note, the F note, to make G a dominant chord, okay? To have a flat 7 inside this G major chord. And that is the only place where it's possible to make a dominant chord in the C major scale. So basically in any major scale, straight ahead major scale, on the 5th step is where we can create that dominant 7 chord, which is again a major chord with a flat 7 inside of it. But anyway, if we are not talking about any particular scale or tonality, okay, basically what you need is to take a look at the root note of the chord and then find that flat 7 and just add it somewhere inside the chord. We're gonna talk about the whole theory behind it some other time, okay, when we do another theory harmony lesson, okay? But anyway, here it is. So back to our A-shaped C major. This is what it looked like. Now, the A-shaped C major 7 looked like this, if we add the sharp 7 inside the chord shape. So that means that if we go even lower with this one and reach that flat 7, which is over here, now I have 3, 5, 3, 5, 3 in terms of frets, okay? In terms of intervals, I have, this is the root note, this is the root, this is the 5th, this is the flat 7, this is the 3rd, this is what makes the chord a major chord, and this is a repeated 5th on top. Okay? That's it. Another way of playing an A-shaped dominant chord is if I keep all of this, all of the normal stuff of the A-shaped C major chord with no 7, And now I'm just gonna add this B flat note up here, 1 octave higher, because this is also a B flat, right? Remember when we played this kind of a shape with the stretching pinky for a C major 7? Well, that means that if we lower this and put a B flat note here, this is a C dominant chord now, because this here is a C major, and now we are adding a flat 7 inside that C major. Just a little hint, if I go on with this, and this connects to Michael's question as well, and if I add this note on the 5th fret here, this is a C6, okay? I'm adding the 6th as an interval. This is an A note, right? Let's count. C, D, E, F, G, A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I add the 6th note of the scale inside the chord, that's gonna be a C major 6, okay?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Another way to remember, I'm sorry, Victor. Another quick way to remember those sevenths is, well, basically the major 7th is a half a step below the root. The
Yes.
minor 7th is a whole step below the root.
Yes.
So that's kind of easier to count, from the root down than from the root all the way up to the 7th, so to speak. Mike says, that's awesome. Add your pinky to your 5th string bar chord and you have a 7th chord. Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Add the pinky to the high E string. Yes.
Right.
That's it. And now again, this will connect to a kind of a G-shaped. Have you seen this very often when people strum acoustic guitar, basic 4-chord songs? If it's in C major, very often you will see this kind of a G chord. This is still a G major kind of a chord, but instead of playing a G note, I'm playing an F note here with the index finger, okay? So this is a G dominant, okay? If I only keep this note and the open 3 strings here, D, G, and B, that means that I'm playing this. If I start raising this up, this must be a G sharp dominant 7, A dominant 7, which again it connects very nicely with this A major dominant 7, okay? If I go on, you see how it connects. So even if I keep only this part of the chord, C major, C dominant, connects nicely with the G-shaped dominant, okay? All right. Another shape, another way to play a G-shaped dominant chord is if you take only, okay, if I take this C note and this major 3rd here and I add this note here and I only use the top 3 strings, actually bottom 3 strings, now I have root, major 3rd, flat 7. This is what's called a shell voicing of a chord. If you skip the 5th and you only have root, 3rd, and 7th.
Yep.
But this still comes from a G-shaped kind of a chord because you see the way it starts. The root note on the 6th string and the 3rd on the next string, okay? This is a very widely used shape actually.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Now the next shape is gonna be the E shape. And this is very simple. This was an E-shaped C major chord. This is our octave, okay? C, C. Now I'm gonna lower this C note a whole step to reach that flat 7, which is here behind the bar on the D string. So I'm just gonna lift my pinky up, and this is my C dominant 7. This is a very, very commonly used shape in any kind of music genre, okay? You can also take this note and repeat it 1 octave higher with the pinky, okay? So now I'm adding my pinky on the 11th fret here to reach that B flat note again 1 octave higher. So now I have C over here, which is the root, G, which is the 5th, the power chord itself. And now here I have my B flat note. Over here I have my E note, which is the major third. And then I'm repeating the B flat note with the pinky up here. Okay? That's it. And then for the next one, which is the D shape, this was a D-shaped C, right? And we played a D-shaped C major 7 like this earlier. Now for a C dominant 7 with a D shape, we're just gonna make this B note a B flat note on the B string here, okay? And it's gonna look like this. 10th fret of the D string, and then 12, 11, 12, okay? This is a D shape, so I'm also gonna show you the actual D major, just D dominant 7 here, okay? So basically what you need to do is make this D note one step lower and put it here at a C note, and this is what it looks like. I'm sure you've seen this kind of a D dominant chord with an empty D string. This is just the open D dominant chord. That means that you can also play a D major 7 like this. What was this song?
Sixpence None the Richer.
Yes. Yes. And you see, I have a D major 7, D dominant, and D major 7 again. Okay? Anyway.
Guys, remember, you know, the cage chording system, you know, we started out by talking about open chord shapes. So again, you know, if you know your A7th open chord shape, right? That's exactly where this comes from. And so on. Same with the E. Okay, if you know your E7th chord shape, we just apply the same concept. And here we have F, G, and so on. And same with the D. What Victor just showed. Here's our D7th open chord shape. And we start moving this up. E, F, and so on. So the concept is always the same. You can kind of like get to the same point from two different routes, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Cool.
That's it. Okay, guys, because we don't have much more time left, we're gonna also go through the two most commonly used minor seventh shapes.
Right.
And that's it, actually, because we're not gonna play, as I mentioned before, there is no very common shape for a C-shaped minor chord and for a G-shaped minor chord. Also, for the D-shaped minor chord, the 7th minor chord version is quite a lot finger breaking, and it's not as widely used because you can always, instead of playing for instance, this would be an F minor 7, you can always play it as an A-shaped like this here. So there is no point. I mean, sometimes it is useful, but today we're just gonna talk about the E-shaped and the A-shaped minor chord, okay? So here it is. This was the E minor chord. If we move it up, we'll have all of the different minor chords. Now let's stay with this A minor, for instance. The only thing I need to do, as with the dominant chord, I'm just gonna lift my pinky up. And this is an A minor 7, because in the A minor chord, I'm adding the flat 7 here. What I can also do is repeat it with my pinky, just as we did with the dominant chord. It's just that now it's a minor chord with this 7 up here. Okay? And for the A-shaped kind of a chord, let's say this is A minor, this is a D minor, for instance, in an A shape, I can either only lift up my pinky, or I can also repeat that note with my pinky up here on the high E string. And there you have it, okay? All of the different shapes for the three most commonly used 7th chords, okay? So guys, let me repeat. We are Victor and Luca. We are both instructors at the Guitar Zoom Academy. if you're interested in more kind of a personalized help with your guitar playing, with an instructor who's going to act as your mentor, and to have the possibility to learn from 8 different instructors and to have classes on particular subjects every day of the week, plus open rooms, Q&A sessions where you can jump in and ask your question, get your answer right away, and also one-on-one lessons with instructors, you can just reach out, click on this link that we are sharing with you in the chat section, book your first call with us, and then we can talk about further steps, okay?
So,
Right.
yeah. Awesome. Well, I hope this was, helpful. The big takeaway, start from something you already know and dig a bit deeper. Find where are the little things that you can change so that you don't have to rely so much on memory. Take a minute to kind of understand and not just learn everything by memory, basically. That's kind of like my big takeaway for today.
Yes, because memorizing stuff and make it easier for yourself to remember or to memorize something comes from understanding it, okay?
Yes.
First you need to understand it, and then it's very easy to memorize, okay?
Absolutely.
That's it, guys. I have another class coming up in a few seconds, so we're gonna leave you now and see you very soon, okay?
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us and hope to see you soon again. Take care.